This is a guy who can just play. He's a professional running back. He was in Chicago. He was in Detroit. He will be in Houston. But you know this. He was really not only a big part of the offense in Detroit, but a part of that identity going back to the Ben Johnson era. So now we have questions to answer about Detroit. Ian, it's great to see you. We'll check in on you. Thank you for all the work you did in Indianapolis. You were fantastic, and we will welcome you back on the show shortly. Guys, that brings us to Detroit because we have talked the Detroit Lions many times over the last couple of years. They're one of the teams that matters, albeit coming up a little short last year. And now one of their players that matters is gone. So let's just play a little game, kind of a good morning football exercise. I'm going to throw out a couple teams, and I want just one word to describe that team. Pick your word and then sell your word. Manti Te'o, the Detroit Lions, as we sit here right now, what is your one word to describe them?
My one word for the Detroit Lions as we sit here today, after that trade that just happened yesterday, is revealing. It is revealing to me what Jahmyr Gibbs means to that offense and to that franchise going forward. Obviously, when Ben Johnson was there 2 years ago, there was an even split between Demo and Jahmyr Gibbs. Jahmyr Gibbs would go in for a series. The very next series, no matter how well or how bad Jahmyr did, Demo would go in there and he would get his series. Well, that changed a little bit last year. Now Jahmyr started to get more of that pie. He started probably about 70% of it. And he benefited from it a lot as far as his performances on the football field. But it is also revealing in another way. When I look at Jahmyr Gibbs and I look at Demo, it reminds me a lot of when we had Mark Ingram and Alvin Kamara over there with the Saints. Alvin, electric, a lot like Jahmyr Gibbs, every down back. But Mark Ingram was this cultural piece for our team. When we lost Mark Ingram and he went to Baltimore, and you start to see that heartbeat that we once had now in Baltimore, where he's over there saying, big trust, woo, woo, all the things that he used to do on the sideline for us, that energy that Mark Ingram was, that cultural piece, that locker room piece, the leader that he was. It is going to be also revealing to see what type of cultural piece Demo was for the Houston, not for the Houston Texans, but for the Detroit Lions and now for the Houston Texans. So I know that Jahmyr Gibbs is the electric one. He is the guy that makes all of those big runs. But I think somebody that makes a bigger impact in the locker room could be someone like Demo. So, Raheem, when I think of this Detroit Lions team going forward, it is revealing to me.
Yeah, and I like that. I like that you brought that in on the offensive side, right? Mm-hmm. Now I'm going to go the entire scene. I'm going to go ahead and use seesaw. That's my word. Now, with seesaw, if you look and see how they have performed as a team as a whole the past 2 years, I mean, a couple of years ago, we were talking about them, you know, being in the NFC Championship game against the Niners. And then, you know, losing that game the way they did and ultimately not being able to be in that Super Bowl. But now, this past year, you know, they lost in the first round of the playoffs. It was tough. So I'm going to go seesaw. And the reason why, like I said, is because as a whole, when you're missing those type of guys, you know, you're missing Demo and stuff like that, man, that's a two-back system. You know, that's and then also Ben Johnson. Ben Johnson left to go to Chicago, and that's also revealing as well, how they play the two-back system in the offense. Obviously, Jahmyr Gibbs did his thing last year with taking over the entire scene, but now it's revealing, and it's also a seesaw puzzle of what's going to happen next within this offense, because obviously this guy right here can make so many good plays for this offense. And on top of that, you need like I said, you need a two-back system. So my word will be seesaw.
I like it.
Yeah, I like it, Raheem. My word is capped. This team finished the season 9-8, and you also got to realize this team also spent the playoffs on the couch. And what's crazy about this team, this is the same team that won the NFC division 2 years in a row, right? And so now you're looking at this Detroit team, and I don't know who they are. And, yeah, they have this elite offense. They finished top 5, but they struggled running the ball. And we can talk about this two-headed back system that they had, but the issue was up front. They had 11 different starters this season. And you talk about the loss of Frank Ragnow. He ended up retiring. You talk about Glasgow, Kevin Zeitler leaving to the Browns. Like, they really took a blow up front. And you're talking about this offensive line really being a shell of themselves. And think about this, too. They struggled closing games. In 2024, they were 7-2 in one-score games. In 2025, they flipped that. They were 2-5 in tight games. So you talk about the impact up front really kind of shifted and altered the identity and culture of this team. These backs were great. And the defense struggled. We all know that the defense had their struggles. But up front, this offensive line really capped this team. They struggled to be the engine that they were in previous years and in previous games. And right now, if you're the Detroit Lions going into the offseason, you're going to have to find a way to really get this offense line back into being the engine that drove this offense, not only in the passing game, but in the run game, KB.
Well, my word is right now is I'm impatient. I like the Lions. I like what they've stood for. I like what they continue to stand for, I think. But we got to go. Like, this is we got a quarterback and we got a coach and we got young weapons. And this is how these things work. You either make your run or you don't. And I look at this team last year. What a disappointing year. My God, Dan Campbell was so deflated at the end of the year. Lose 4 of the last 6 games to finish the season. Swept by the Packers. Swept by the Vikings in like a really, really bad Viking season. Now, they played really well against the Bears, but they just ended up with this 9-8 season that was kind of a womp-womp. And, like, where do we go now? Listen, you guys know I love the Angry Runners. I love David Montgomery. I really do. I'm not crying a river of tears because David Montgomery is gone. You have good success, you have good players, you lose players. You're not losing Jahmyr Gibbs. I think he's one of the 10 best overall players in the entire league. You still have receivers, you still have all the pieces, but I'm getting a little impatient because Dan Campbell said it himself when they were in the title game. This might have been our best shot. This is a few years ago. This might have been our best shot. It's hard to get here because what happens is now the Bears matter, albeit struggling against Detroit last year. Green Bay always matters. Vikings coach is too good for them to just be circling the drain over and over. And it was like last year was just this nothing year. I don't want nothing years for Dan Campbell. There's nothing about his whole mentality that says 9-8 and we blew it in the second half. I don't like it. And if you don't get it going this year, I don't know. Where are we going then? Was this Ben Johnson's team? Just all these places you don't want to go. I'm impatient. But let's look at the other side of this equation because we just had this transaction with Montgomery between the Texans and the Lions. We all just use our word for the Lions, and we had seesaws and capped and all kinds of stuff. What about the Houston Texans? Such a fascinating year, such a fascinating end to the year as we saw what happened against New England. One word, Manti Te'o, to describe the Houston Texans today, after the deal they made, after they're moving forward. One word to describe them right now.
Yeah, when I look at them today, especially after the deal that just happened with David Montgomery going over there, I think it's fitting. Why? Because you have DeMeco Ryans. DeMeco Ryans is a defensive-minded head coach. Now, with that, you saw the defense that he had. One of 2 defenses that we knew that could win a Super Bowl. Now you look at the other side of the football at their offense and the struggles that they've had offensively, specifically with C.J. Stroud the past couple of years. It is so fitting as a defensive-minded head coach that, number one, defensive-minded head coaches want to control the time of possession. They want to run the ball. David Montgomery is fitting for that. Now, when you consider C.J. Stroud and his struggles, the best way to settle a C.J. Stroud-like situation is, number one, either get him a quarterback whisperer, or number 2, run the ball. So it is also fitting in that regard where now you have David Montgomery, who is a guy that's going to come downhill, and not only is he going to inflict pain on defenders, but he's going to set a precedence for your team, a sense of fear that I think the other side of the ball for the Houston Texans have. When the Houston Texans defense lines up against you, there is a sense of fear like this is one of the best defenses in the NFL. When David Montgomery lines up as a running back, he may not be Jahmyr Gibbs, but what he is he is a downhill bruiser that will not go down on the first hit. And that is the identity of what DeMeco Ryans has for his entire football team, specifically for his offense and his defense. So, Raheem, I think that when Demo goes over there, that this is so fitting for what DeMeco Ryans is trying to do as a head coach and what he's trying to do for his quarterback, C.J. Stroud.
Now, I agree with you on the fitting aspect. I think that that's really, really suitable for how the offense is going. Now, my question is, or my answer for this one word is going to be questionable. I think that it's questionable, and in a good way, because I know that, I was working with DeMeco Ryans over there at San Francisco. I know that he's a great defensive coordinator. I played against him multiple times. Last year was a good game between us, when I was with the Raiders. So my thing is questionable, and it's a good sense because how is it going to be with the addition of Demo? How is it going to look as an offense? You had Nick Chubb, who could potentially sign back. We're still waiting on Tank Dell, a great receiver, and C.J. Stroud. It hasn't hit his ceiling just yet, and he's done everything that he needed to do in order to control the offense. But they just need a little bit more. They have Nico Collins, who's an excellent receiver. Sometimes he's up and down. He was injured the last few games of the season. So that's the thing that I'm worried the most about is being questionable in regards to what they're going to do as a simple fact that they just added Demo to the roster.
Yeah, Raheem, I like that. I'm going to be honest with you. I'm going to use the word volatile, KB. Can I use that?
Sure.
We know how kick-ass this defense was at the Houston Texans. They pretty much put a master class on how our defense should play in the playoffs. But nevertheless, man, this offense is the issue. Let's keep it a buck. The offense is an issue for the Houston Texans. They didn't play well late in this season, and especially in the playoffs. You talk about C.J. Stroud. I don't know if the Texans want to admit it, but I feel like they have a quarterback problem. If I was D'Amico Ryans, I would have benched C.J. Stroud in that divisional game against the Patriots coming out of halftime. They didn't. They stuck with him. But overall, man, you know, the Texans are in a place right now where they have this elite defense. They have an offense that's okay, right? They can obviously run the ball better. They need some more weapons on the outside. But when you talk about what they have right now, they have a defense that gives them the floor. And they have an offense that pretty much at this time decides the ceiling. So if you're the Houston Texans, you have to realize that your window is closing, even with this defense, unless you fix your issues on offense and you find some stability in the run game and figure out how you can get C.J. Stroud to be an elite quarterback. I mean, we keep chasing what he looked like the first year. He hasn't been able to step up or take the next step. So for my word is volatile, KB, man. I'm frustrated because I feel like when you have an historic defense like the Texans have, you have to maximize that time. You have to maximize the window. The offense is keeping it back, and hopefully they figure it out next year.
Dude, I'm right with you because my word for how I feel about the Texans right now is hungover. I've never seen something like that. I don't want to mire too much in it because I like C.J. Stroud and I like the Texans. I have never seen something like that, where not only that the franchise quarterback is not playing well, it honestly looked like he was having some sort of psychological episode. Like, I didn't even recognize who he was. And I think there was real credibility in saying that we need to bench him now at halftime of this playoff game because, oh, my God, our defense is so good. All we have to do is not throw interceptions. And it was really unique. And here's the problem. C.J. Stroud will not have to answer for that this year, moving forward. Years, you know, there's two quarterbacks that I'm fascinated to watch this year. The two quarterbacks in the entire league who are like, I don't know what I'm getting. I don't know what I'm expecting. It's C.J. Stroud and J.J. McCarthy. C.J. and J.J. And this is C.J. Stroud again, and this is why it's so strange, because C.J. Stroud had probably the best rookie season ever that we had ever seen at that time, and it's like he's the future of the position maybe, and like he couldn't complete a pass. It was so strange, and I don't want to continue to toil in it, but what other option do we have? Did you watch that football game? It was utterly bizarre. So I feel like when you're like terribly hungover and people are offering you all these remedies, like getting David Montgomery is like, go eat some greasy food or like drink a lot of water. Like it's something you're trying to do to make the hangover go away. None of them really work, including the idiot who's like, you just got to start drinking again. No, you don't. That's not what you could possibly do. We've all tried it. We've all done it. It really doesn't work. So I have this bizarre hangover, and I don't know what to do about it. There really is no cure. Only thing cures a real hangover is like water and sleep and time. You know, it's just going to take a while. Nothing's going to cure this until we're looking up in September and the Texans are 3-0, the opposite of how they started last year, and Stroud looks like Stroud, because that was an all-time bender. I hate to say it, but that's what the game said for itself. Guys, those are some good words. I like the words. We had volatile. We had a seesaw. I still like the seesaw. Willie's never been on a seesaw in his life. It'll be a catapult.
Not true. I wasn't always.
So everybody in L.A. did a wonderful job, and everyone in the world is excited for this fact.